This is a quick demonstration on how to use DreamWeaver to create a site. This is the first thing you're seeing me do. I did a site, new site, and I am going to then later show you how to make web pages and a template. So the first thing you do in the site, new site window is add a name and then a local directory as to where you want to store it. I'm creating a directory here, as you can see, called resume, and this is all you have to do on this first site tab, is specify a name and a location. Secondly, we want to add a server, because one of the things that DreamWeaver lets you do is transfer files from your local machine that you've created to a server. You can have many kinds of servers listed here. We really are teaching you the basics of DreamWeaver. We're just going to create a single server here that's going to serve as our production server, but you can separate whether you want it for test and production. There's many more features to DreamWeaver again than what we're going to teach you, but what I'm teaching you is enough to do your projects. So hit plus, that's to add a new server. The first thing is we're going to choose an arbitrary name, something that's meaningful. And I'm going to show you the setup for our CS Web 01 server. So that we choose a name, and then secondly, the next item is to choose a communication protocol, which needs to be SFTP for Secure File Transfer Protocol. The next thing is we are going to type in the actual name. I'm going to be a little lazy, actually have it open in a SSH client, but it's located for you also in your account information that was sent to you and discussed in class. So it's a it's csweb01.csueastbay.edu. The login and password will be obviously different than mine. Mine is GRU, and yours will most likely be your NetID and your NetID password that you use to connect to Blackboard. I'm going to test now that make sure that I've typed in my login and password and the server name correctly. So successful, that's great, everything looks good, but we're not quite done with this creation of a server. We need to specify where on the machine we want to transfer things. And let me go ahead and just quickly disconnect from my SSH tool. And what I'm showing you is I am connected still on the remote login. And one of the things that's required of our system is to make a public HTML directory. You can see I've already done that in mine. And we have on the CS Web 01 restricted the serving space to anything in your public _HTML directory. It has to be spelled exactly like that with the right case. And then inside there, you can create as many different directories or files that you want. If you try to put an HTML file in your main directory, not under your public HTML directory, you won't be able to see it on the web. So I am making a file, a directory called resume. When we specify the path, it has to start with our public HTML and end with our subdirectory resume. You can see the URL that it creates is actually incorrect if you remember our discussion in class. It actually has to be server name / tilde your login, which in my case is GRU. And that tilde is actually specified in the Apache configuration file as a rule that will translate it actually to the path that you're seeing above the public HTML directory. This is a small security thing of trying to restrict the web serving space, but also having that rule in there, tilde, means someone doesn't have to type in a really cumbersome underscore, the public _HTML. Alright, so we are going to make sure everything is connected correctly. So we have to have that resume subdirectory that we showed being created a moment ago in our SSH tool. So we're done. There are some other tabs here, but we're not going to worry about them. We're only going to learn again what you need for our first exercises and projects. So we're going to hit save, and it's going to actually set up our site for us. So notice on the right where I'm pointing, this is shows you both the local and remote machines. You can toggle back and forth. Currently there aren't any files. We just created this site, so you can see we're only seeing the top level directory and nothing more. So let's go back to the local directory, and we're going to actually do something now, which is to show you how to create a very simple web page, single web page. So file new, and we're going to choose to do a simple HTML document. We're not going to do Bootstrap or some of the other types of files. Simply the simplest thing that you can do is an HTML document. Okay, so this is what you see. It actually created a blank HTML document. The top where we're typing is considered the design view, and on the bottom you can see the text that gets generated. We can change the view from this kind of split mode if we don't like it, and you can see there's different kinds of split modes, into just viewing it in design or live mode. Live mode shows what it looks like, but you can't edit it. Design mode, you can edit it, and all you see is the WYSIWYG. And when you have split, you can see both the code and the design view at the same time. So let's just save this right away so it's not untitled. It's going to be, of course, in our local resume directory. And we're going to give it a name of resume.html. So now I want to add some more content to our image. Might be nice to have to our HTML, have an image actually inside our web page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over, go to my Chrome web browser and search for a web on the web for a image of me, and I'm gonna grab that. If I just copy the image directly from here into the DreamWeaver web page, which you're going to see me do, unfortunately what it does is it actually copies the URL, as you can see down below in the code. So what I want to do instead is to go ahead and copy it into another tool like Paint, which literally copies the pixels and then of the image, and then I'm going to copy it again into here. And now you notice it's actually asking me where I want to save it. I'm going to make a directory called Images in order to save my image. It's always great to organize your files, even static files like this. And I'm going to give it an appropriate name and save it in the Images directory. And you can see on the right it did actually create that Images directory in the local view of files on the right. I'm going to create a div tag right below it. I'm going to give it a name, a class name. Later on, not in this video, we can learn about cascading style sheets and use this name to specify some styles. I'm going to put a quote there later on inside the div tag, and now I'm going to insert a table. At this point, you don't really know very much about HTML, and we haven't learned CSS yet. So we're just going to do HTML. We're going to use a table to organize some links, almost like a navigation bar of sorts for our resume. And in the two cells that I've created here, the table, we're going to type in work, and also references in order to serve as our navigation bar, and we're going to create links to those files, which we haven't created yet, but that's what we're going to do right now. So one of the things you can do is, dynamically change the layout here of my table in terms of the columns. You can see it has various widths associated with it. One of the things I can do is change the properties in the properties window, and here I'm centering all of the content inside the cells of the table. Okay, so here you can see this is what we currently have. We have an images directory, we have a resume, and one of the things we can do is upload the entire site by hitting the up arrow. What this is going to do is take what we currently have, and it's going to actually use the SFTP connection properties we've specified in our site and transfer it. So let's look at if it did it. It did it. Here's the remote side, and we can see that yes indeed we have our HTML and our images directory. So one of the things we can do is preview, a real-time preview in Chrome or any browser that you happen to have currently installed. You can see I have 3 installed, and what it will do is it'll actually bring up, it's just the local version, not the remote version. You know it's local because here up on top you can see it's actually loading a file, and that is the file. If you want to see the remote version, we're going to type in the URL, which is the csweb.csueastbay.edu//gru, and it would be capital resumes / lower resume.html. But I'm going to show you, this will actually do a directory listing. I just ended with the resume, and you can see the contents that was uploaded here. And you can click on the resume.html, and there it is. I could have alternatively written the complete URL that you see up there in the location bar. Normally this kind of index listing doesn't exist on most web servers. It's considered kind of a non-secure thing to let people browse your web, but because you are beginning web programmers, I've asked and requested that our admin allow this to be turned on. So now I'm going to just add some content inside my div tag, and for my quote, for example. And before I do that, actually, let's change work to actually serve as a hypertext link, and publications. Similarly, we want to specify. Now, I've specified these pages for work and publications, even though they don't exist as of yet. Okay? And then finally, if someone clicks on my name or the image, I want it to link to resume.html. I could have typed it in, or as you just saw, I actually selected it because it actually currently exists. Okay, and so as you can see, I'm going back to the browser, and if I click on work, as expected, it doesn't exist yet, but there are real links. It is trying to go to work and publications, and if I click on my name or image, it's basically reloading the resume.html page. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the next little bit is we're going to move on to talking about templates. So the first thing we're going to do is save this as a template. And it's basically, we're going to give it a name, something meaningful, like resume template. And what you'll notice on the right is it actually created a new folder called templates, and inside there is the file that we just created. But notice the file extension is DWT. Now, a template is a design once reused many times. We discussed templates in class. And the idea is that they have locked content. And the locked content, in our case here, is going to be my name, the picture, and the table navigation bar. But the content area for the quote is something we want to be able to change for every page that we generate from our template. So to do that, we have to take and edit and create an editable region. Give it a name. So I'm going to have it called quote, related to the quote. And notice how it changed what it looks like. I want another content area down underneath my navigation bar, kind of for the main content of every page I'm going to generate from this template. So I create another div tag, and again I'm going to, inside the div tag, insert another editable region, but very important that you give it a different name and it's meaningful, like this is the main content area. So at this point we're going to be done with our template, and I want to show you how I'm actually going to utilize the template to generate web pages. And the nice thing is you could take this template and generate 1,000 web pages, and they'll all look the same in the sense of the locked content, the non-editable content. So here I'm going to say file new, but now instead of a blank HTML page, we're going to do one from the template. And you can see currently we only have one template associated with this site, so here it is. This is what it looks like. So this is untitled at this moment. We'll save it in a moment. And we're going to call it work.html. That's one of the files we needed. And now we're going to change the content. So something dealing with work. We're going to put a little quote. Hard work always pays off. And then we want, of course, to add some content down in the main content editable region, like some employment information, for example. Now, the only thing that you can edit in this work page is the two editable regions. All the other things, the picture of me, the name, the table, these are all locked content that we cannot change in work.html. Okay. And as you see, when I put my mouse over that locked content, it has a crosshatch, meaning I cannot edit it. I can only edit that in the original template. Okay, we're going to generate another page from the template. We need a publications page. And similarly to what we did in work, we're going to add some unique content. Again, the only places that you can add it are in the two editable regions. So quote, and then we're going to have some publications. So I'm going to just kind of type in some quick and silly content. Do a list here, like pretending we have a list of publications. And we're going to save it as publications.html. So you can see on the right, we now have three files: our work, our publications, and our original resume.html. I'm going to recreate the resume HTML from the template. So it's also using the template, and I'm going to add some content in here. And I run an organization called iLab, so I'm going to put some information about iLab here and the logo. And I'm going to save the logo inside my images directory. And if I go back to the browser, I can take a look at that and preview it. Before I do that, I'm going to make a link to the iLab website, and I'm going to select it, and as you can see, insert a link. So let's upload everything to the remote server again. And now let's go back and reload our web page. There it is. This is what resume looks like. If I click on iLab, it actually goes there. Now if I click on work, it goes to work. If I click on publications, it goes to publications, and so on. So everything is at this point working, and this is literally, albeit very silly, a set of 3 web pages making a mini website out of my resume. Suppose we want to go back to our template and make some change to it. What's going to happen to all of the web pages is that it will actually update them. So I'm going to change the background color of my page. I'm going to choose B. I could change heading information. I could come into the meta title, for example, here. One of the other header information. Title appears in the tab bars, and I could put like Lingru for my resume. And you can see the template got updated, but what happened to the actual web pages that use that template? Okay, well, let's save our changes first. You can see the star there means we haven't saved them yet. So let's save our template. And it's going to pop up a window saying, do you want to update all the web pages that use this template? And you should almost always say yes, and it will automatically update them. Okay, so that's the status that everything was successful. And if we go ahead and close that down, we can now take a look and see if the changes in our web pages occurred. And you can see it actually did update it, because here's our various web pages. They all have the blue background, right? Okay, so there's a little disconnect here. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to reapply the template to this page. So I'm going to go to Tools, Templates, and I'm going to say Apply Template to Page. It's going to ask me which template. We only have one to choose from, and I'm going to reapply it. There, it got sent. Okay, so now we can go ahead and upload. Instead of uploading the entire site, I'm just going to upload the pages that changed, which actually are our 3 HTML pages listed here. So let's go back to our browser, and we're going to reload. And here you can see it actually updated each of the pages appropriately. So this more or less concludes what we set out to do, which was showing you how to create a site, showing you next how to create a simple web page, and then finally the idea of how to create a template, use it to generate various web pages, and if you alter the template, it will in turn update all of the web pages for you. Check out adobe.com for more tutorials, but this is the basics of most of what you're going to need. Of course, we're going to be learning more about HTML. You'll be learning more about HTML, as well as learning about cascading style sheets, all of which can be done through DreamWeaver authoring.